Hey guys and girls, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an absolutely amazing day. Today I want to share a story with you which happened last week, and it completely shook me to my core, and it could have changed my life forever. So last Tuesday I was having a great day in the studio. I was playing a solo and recording it for a video, and I was really loving it. I loved this solo, by the way. It was pretty damn cool. And I just had a really awesome day. I was feeling really good in the evening. Then it was a typical evening. Went into the kitchen, started to prep for dinner. I was chopping some vegetables, and then this happened. Now, I'm a really enthusiastic cook. It's one of the things I love to do when I'm not playing music, and I have some pretty sharp kitchen knives. Now, I always respect my kitchen knives because I know what damage they can do. But whilst cutting a bell pepper, the knife slipped, and I just felt a searing pain through this finger, which is on my fret hand. Now, as soon as it happened, I looked down and I knew it was really bad. The cut was extremely deep, and I'm pretty sure I reached the bone on my finger. Nothing happened initially. There was no blood, there was nothing. It was literally like time had just paused. But I could see on my finger that there was a really deep and very serious cut right on the side of my finger, which I will show you guys a little bit later. I will warn you before I show you that, in case you guys and girls are squeamish and you don't want to see that. But it was a really serious cut, and I will explain why in a little bit. So I immediately told my wife what had happened, and she got some bandages, and I started to wrap it up. Now, like I said, there was no blood initially. It was all dry, and that was slightly worrying because I knew that that was a sign that it was pretty damn serious if that hadn't happened. Anyways, I wrapped it up, and as I was wrapping it up, the blood started gushing out, and there was a lot of it. So we wrapped it up as best as possible. I had some kitchen towels on it. I was holding it, and I knew I had to get down to the A&E department, or the ER if you're in America. So we basically caught a cab, went to accident emergency at the local hospital, and then I needed to get patched up. Now, that 10-minute wait for the cab and the 20-minute ride to the hospital was probably the longest wait I had in my life. I was really worried about this because my hands are really precious to me. But we got to the hospital, and we walked into the hospital, and the A&E department was completely full, and I was looking up at the board, and it was saying to see triage it was like 20 minutes, and then to see a doctor was like 4.5 hours. I was like, geez. I was really worried about what was happening, and there was so much blood coming out. Everything was just saturated with blood. But luckily what happened was, when I got seen initially by triage, they saw that it was pretty serious and it was on my hand, and they sent me to a special department, which was urgent care, and I got seen within another 15 or 20 minutes. And I was just really lucky that they acted so quickly, and this got bandaged up very quickly. The nurse who was looking after me was absolutely amazing, and I want to extend my thanks out to him for looking after me so well. And he examined the wound, and thankfully it already started to heal. The flap of skin and flesh, apologies for the descriptive nature of this, it had already started to settle, so he couldn't lift it because he did want to check inside. But then he told me something which really profoundly scared me. And what he said was, I narrowly missed my tendon. Now, before I go on, I want to show you this wound, but word of warning, if you're slightly squeamish, then you can look away now. It'll only be for a few seconds, but I do want to show you what happened, because this cut was quite big on my finger, and the position of it is really important. Whilst examining it, the nurse told me that if I'd been just a few millimeters this way, literally like 1/4 of an inch, I could have severed the tendon on this finger. This is my fret hand, guys and girls. This is where I do my widdly on my guitar. On this hand, I could have got away with it because this is my pick hand, and usually I don't use this finger unless I'm tapping or something. But on this hand, it is incredibly important. If I had severed the tendon, I would not be able to flex my finger. I can flex my finger, and it has been healing up nicely for the last week. I'm so grateful that it has. I was told to rest my hand and my finger completely for 2 weeks and strictly zero guitar playing because I couldn't put any pressure on the finger. The risk was that the wound would open up and then it would have gotten much worse. Infection could have got in, etc, etc. So I was basically told, don't do anything with your hand. Don't put any pressure on your hand. And as frustrating as it has been for the last week, not being able to pick up my beautiful guitars and play and, you know, create some music, I'm really grateful that the injury wasn't as severe as it possibly could have been. It could have been much worse, and you know, I might have been doing this video telling you guys I can't play guitar anymore, at least for the time being. And I wanted to do this video as a cautionary tale for you guys because, guys, look, I'm a professional musician. I do this for a living. This is my every single day. I teach, I do YouTube stuff, I record for people. You know, music's my life. These guitars are my absolute life. They're my career, they're my passion, they're everything to me. But so easily it could have all been gone. It could have been gone in just a second because of a knife slipping in my hands. This is something I have done thousands of times before. I have cut vegetables for years and years and years. Like I said, I'm a passionate cook. So, you know, I'm not unfamiliar with actually chopping vegetables, but this time it was just a bad one. And as a guitarist, the thought of losing my ability to play was absolutely terrifying. I realized in that moment that I could have lost my career. If a tendon or a nerve had been damaged really badly, then I wouldn't have been able to play for the next 9 or 10 months. In fact, the following day I had needed to go down to the pharmacist to get a couple of supplies to wrap up my finger and stuff, and I was talking to the local pharmacist who I know quite well, and he was explaining how a friend of his had injured his hand, had cut a tendon. Basically, he wasn't able to play for 9 months. He was a guitar player as well, and he wasn't able to pick up the guitar for 9 months after that. Now, the thought of that was really scary for me because I earn a living doing this. I would have had to give up my classes. I wouldn't have been able to do my YouTube videos. I wouldn't have been able to share my music with you guys. And all of these guitars, all this gear would just be here redundant. I wouldn't have been able to play it. And as frustrating as it has been over the last week that I haven't been able to pick up a guitar and play some music, I'm really thankful. I'm really grateful that the damage wasn't as bad as it potentially could have been. Now, thankfully, my recovery has been pretty quick, and as you can see, my finger is moving around and I don't have pain on my finger. It aches a little bit now and then if something kind of just bashes up against my finger or kind of just causes a little bit of pressure. There are so many daily activities which have become so much more challenging because I had to rest my hand. I could not get my finger wet, and obviously it's bandaged up at the moment, so I don't really want to have like a soaking wet bandage on my hand, right? That's not going to be good because it's going to cause infection and stuff like that. So things like cooking, I've been banned from the kitchen for the time being. Well, not quite banned, but you know, I can't do a lot of things in the kitchen. I can't prep food, I can't prep vegetables, I can't wash anything. I can cook on the stove a little bit, which I have been doing for the last couple of days, but there's so much that I can't do. Washing and cleaning myself, you know, just going for a shower has become so much more challenging because I need to keep this dry. So I have to wear rubber gloves on my hand, and then there's this device called Limbo, which I put over my hand, and it has a rubber gasket around it, and it basically kind of stops water getting in. So that becomes challenging. But then, you know, I can't wash this side because I can't use this hand. You know, this is crazy, right? But this is the consequence of something like this happening. Can't play guitar, obviously. That's been a source of frustration, obviously, because I love playing. Can't build guitars at the moment. There's stuff that I want to do, you know, there's maintenance I want to do. I want to modify some of my guitars, and I have some guitar builds which I'm planning. I can't build amps at the moment. Well, I can do that a little bit because it's electronics and stuff, and I've managed to do a little bit because I'm on an amp build at the moment. And you know, little things like helping with household chores, I can't do it because I've got to rest this. This can't bend too much. In the first week, this couldn't bend too much. It's bending now, which is a great sign, but I've still got to be careful because the wound cannot start to open up. Can't drive. I can't go to the gym. And I can't lift anything heavy. So, it's limited what I can do. I have had to literally rest and just take some time off and catch up with some, shows on Amazon Prime and Netflix and stuff like that. Daisy Jones and the Six, by the way. Go watch that if you're a musician. You will enjoy it. I loved it. At least I was able to do that, right? But like I said, simple activities have become 1,000 times more challenging because, every day we use both hands to do things. When you're limited to just doing everything with one hand, you find that actually you need that second hand in order to help. I have the second hand, but at the moment I cannot use it because this needs to heal up properly. The inside needs to heal up. And this is the part where probably, when you get a nick or a cut, you probably don't think about that part, especially when it's a serious cut like this. And you saw how bad it was, how big the cut was earlier in the video, right? That needs to internally heal and externally heal in order for me to be 100%. So when I get back to playing, when I get back to doing what I do, then it's not going to cause a problem along the line. It's going to be fine. It's going to have healed up properly and it's going to work the way I need it to, because at some stage I need to get back to this. This is my job. Like I said, I'm a professional musician. If you're a touring musician and something like this happens, can you imagine the disaster of what would happen? You'd basically have to stop being on tour. You'd have to stop playing, right? So yeah, those are the consequences of what happens when something like that happens. You don't necessarily think about it at the time, but once it happened to me, there were so many things which actually dominoed into, the consequences of cutting myself this badly. I have my Wolfgang here. I cannot pick it up and play any chords or leads or anything like that, and it's frustrating because I want to so much. But you know what? I'm not going to sacrifice my finger for just a few days. I'm going to leave it for the time being and not play. And there are so many other things that I can't do. I can do some bits and pieces in the studio, but for the most part, I'm a guitar player for a living. I had a solo to record for a friend of mine. Haven't been able to do it. Haven't been able to keep to my schedule of videos which I was going to shoot for you guys. So this has really taught me a lesson about just how important my hands are as a guitar player and as a musician. And even if you're not a guitar player, if you're a musician who plays like a woodwind instrument or saxophone or a trumpet or piano, something like this is going to prevent you from actually doing what you love and maybe what your job is as well, like it is mine. I know this isn't the most serious injury in the world. I haven't lost my hand, I haven't lost my finger, it wasn't completely cut off, the tip wasn't cut off or anything like that. And I know there are people out there who actually do lose limbs and fingers and things like that, and I really feel for them, especially if they're musicians, because if this is part of your livelihood, if it's what you do, if it's your passion as well, I can only imagine just how heartbreaking it would be for something like that to happen. But it still served to really teach me a lesson about, how I need to look after my hands when I'm doing things. So even if I'm doing some things around the house, some DIY or something like that, or if I'm building something, there are a ton of things that we do during our daily lives where our hands are involved, right? Because we've got to do stuff. Even closing a car door, I'm always cautious about things like that because I'm always conscious that my hands need to be out of the way. This is a conscious thought that I have in my mind. So I wanted this to serve as a cautionary tale to say to you guys, you know what, look after your hands. Please, please, please look after your hands because stuff like this does happen. I'm quite skilled with a knife in the kitchen. I've been told by a few people that my knife skills are very admirable in the kitchen. But my next purchase for the kitchen is going to be a stainless steel glove because I never want this to happen to me again. And if you guys love playing guitar, please, please, please look after your hands. Be careful. If you're doing things around the house, if you're skateboarding, if you're riding a bike, you know, please make sure your hands are okay. You know, you can be outside walking and trip over and fall on a finger really badly, and it can break. In fact, years ago, I used to do Kung Fu, and during one of my classes, this finger broke. Yeah, awkward kick by an opponent, and it basically just chipped my knuckle there. Luckily, it was my pick hand, so it didn't affect my playing too much, but I just remember the pain. And again, you know, this was just a reminder that my hands are really, really, really important. And so are yours. Your hands are important as well. Be mindful of what can potentially happen, especially if you're in the kitchen and you're holding a knife. I'm definitely going to be more cautious in the kitchen when I'm doing stuff. Thanks so much for listening to my story, guys and girls. I really appreciate it. I know I messed up big time this time when that knife slipped. It's just one of those things in life. I know stuff is going to happen. I am going to jump back in the saddle because, you know what, I have a lot of life left ahead of me, and I know I'm going to have to chop veggies at some point again, but next time I do it, I'm going to be extremely cautious. I'm really grateful that I still have the use of my finger. It's still moving around, and I know I'm going to be able to get back to playing guitar in the next week or so, and I really look forward to it because, like I said earlier, I'm so passionate about what I do. Just the thought of getting back to playing guitar, it's exciting for me. So I'm really looking forward to a couple days time when I pick up the guitar again and give it a try. I'm sure my finger will be fine by then. Alrighty everyone, thanks so much. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and please do like, share and subscribe as well if you haven't done so already. Share it with your friends as well, because you know what, if my story can help just one other person save themselves from doing something like this, then it's job done. It really is. It's so worth helping others to not get to this stage where they're saying, hey, I messed up big time and I almost lost my guitar playing career. You guys and girls, have yourselves an amazing day and stay safe. Please stay safe. And I'm not going to leave you without some music today, because there is a track which I want to share with you, which I did a few years ago, and my wife was playing this on her iPad last night, and I remembered just how cool it was. And it also reminded me that I used to do a bit of singing. Yeah. It's a song called 20 Years. You guys might have seen it on my channel. The new subscribers might not have seen it. I absolutely adore this one. I loved doing the video shoot. I loved the message of this one because it's very personal to me and very close to my heart. And there is an EP called 20 Years, which you can pick up from my Bandcamp page if you enjoyed the music as well. As soon as I'm better and back on the fretboard, I'm going to be doing some new videos for you guys. I really look forward to that. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.
Been 20 years since you left us now. Been 20 years, that's about somehow. Been 20 years, time disappears. Been 20 years through the bitter tears. Time keeps ticking away, waiting for no man. Been 20 years since I said goodbye. It's been 20 years since you left my side. Been 20 years, time ticking by. Been 20 years since the day you died. been 20 years since I said goodbye.